Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Extension Podcast on wiregrassgrown.com. I'm Micah Johnson, Extension Director for Houston County.
And I'm Aaron Wells, Extension Agent for row crops in the southeast part of the state.
We'd like to welcome you back. And last time we left you, we were discussing how we're going to look into the spring outlook in agriculture in the area. And we have a lot of events coming up. We just got through with the Bee Forage Field Day, the Research Station in Headland. We did the Cover Crops Field Day. A couple other events coming up. We have the plant sale at the Botanical Gardens Friday and Saturday, the 27th and 28th of March. We have beekeeping skills class Saturday, April 4th, 8:30 a.m. at Landmark Park. There's if anyone missed the private applicator class in your county, there is a private applicator makeup day at the Wiregrass Research and Extension Center Friday, April the 10th at 8 a.m. That's one that our agents do in each county, but sometimes if you can't make it, we offer a makeup class, and that's what this is. There's also down the road a pond management workshop Friday, April 17th at the Research Station in Headland. We were recently able to catch up with Chris Parker, the Associate Director at the Wiregrass Research and Extension Center, to discuss some upcoming trials, some upcoming research happening. And we're going to take a visit to the research station here in this episode and discuss with him kind of his role and the research station's role in research varieties and anything that might be relevant to local growers. Aaron, as an extension agent, what value do you see in the research station and what results they find?
Well, I think the big thing is the research that's being conducted out there is done on an unbiased basis. And when I say that, I mean, no one is trying to look at that and say, all right, we need to make this product work, or we need to look and see, what can we do to show some good for this product. It's really on a does this work, does it not work kind of basis. And that's the great thing about the research station in Headland is it's all, supported through the land-grant universities, through Auburn University, through the extension service as well, getting that research information out to the general public. Folks can be confident knowing that there's really no conflicts of interest there. There's no, anything's bought and paid for at that point. Now that there's probably some research going on with some other private companies, they do some research out there a little bit, but that documentation, that data is usually just kept for themselves, for them to decide what they want to do with it. But the information that's generated there at the research station, the publicly available information, that kind of data is, you can have good confidence knowing that that's unbiased and, this is actually what happened. There's no real kind of, let's try to mask this or inflate that kind of deal, because at the end of the day, those guys at the experiment station, regardless if it's row crops or beef cattle or any kind of horticulture crop, they're all going to get paid the same. Okay. And not to say that they're not doing a good job, because they do a great job out there. But at the end of the day, there's no financial gain for them if one thing does better than the other.
Right. And that's what we really appreciate the research station and the work that Chris and all his workers do out there. Especially this time of year, weather's warming up. People are getting antsy, making some final decisions. And this time of year, they're looking at burn down. They're looking at, but what are they looking at? What questions need to be answered this time of year? I mean, you got some variety questions, but most of it probably been answered by now.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, corn, I'm not going to say corn's halfway planted as of today, but corn is definitely in full swing, getting planted right now. Should have already taken soil samples at this point in the growing season, which with the price of fertilizer being what it is, with nitrogen sources cost, going through the roof because of things going on in the Middle East. Our fertilizer budgets are going to be really, they need to be paid very close attention to. And one way to kind of really decide what, needs to be done or doesn't need to be done is with that soil test, which most folks take their soil test a little earlier than this. It's still not too late if you're looking at a peanut or a cotton crop or something like that. It's not too late to go do that. It would probably be money well spent. And you mentioned earlier the cover crops field day. That was one thing we were talking with Chris about today. And, he brought up the good point. If you look at the weather pattern we're in right now, we really haven't had any beneficial rain in a few days. If you look at the 10-day forecast for the Dothan area, there's really no chance of rain. So if you do have a cover crop out there in the field, and one of the benefits of the cover crop is it's going to maintain or hold more moisture for you. It's beginning to get dry. I think if you look at the drought monitor, it'll show you we're already in a pretty dry situation as it is. But that dry weather is going to do a couple of things for us. The longer we wait to terminate that cover crop, the more difficult it's going to be, because that plant may start to slow down a little bit from a metabolism standpoint. So actually uptaking the herbicide it's going to take to terminate that cover crop. And then also that plant, while it's still growing, it's taking moisture out of the ground and depleting more of moisture in the soil. So it may be a little early from a calendar standpoint from what folks typically would want to do. I think most folks they feel real comfortable with that 2 to 3 weeks out from planting. So that's going to put us somewhere around the second week of April right now. And that's a little early. Not saying we couldn't plant, if the conditions were right, cotton or peanuts, but it's just something to think about. If we go ahead and terminate that cover crop now, if we got enough biomass that we're looking for whatever our farm expectations are, then while the plant is still growing, we can get that product, that herbicide, into the plant to shut it down, make it stop. And that way it can stop taking up some of the soil moisture that's there. And so that way, if we do get a rainfall in the next 2 weeks or something like that, then our ground is then absorbing that moisture, and it hopefully we'll be able to store it and not the cover crop utilizing that moisture that's there. So come planting season, planting time, hopefully we'll have something there to get a good crop started with.
That sounds good. So next part of this episode, we'll be chatting with Chris Parker, the Associate Director of the Wiregrass Research and Extension Center. We'll dive into what's going on out there this time of year, what they're into, and what the overall goal is. So, hey, everybody, we're here at the Wiregrass Research and Extension Center with Associate Director Chris Parker. Chris Parker heads up this whole research area, and we're going to pick his brain a little bit about what happens here and what's coming up and kind of some outlooks for this year. Chris, give us a little background about just a 30,000-foot view of what happens here.
So anytime a commodity group that's communicated from farmers, hey, we've got an issue, I think that's kind of the first level of, for us to be here to answer a question, we need to know what the question is. Our groups will, such as the Alabama peanut producers and other commodity groups, then sort of get in contact with researchers that can answer that question. So my staff and I are here to oversee all the land and all the infrastructure and do all the work so that these questions can be answered. We conduct the research here for the information to then go to extension for y'all to have some numbers to back up the data that you get, that your stakeholder. So in essence, we're just trying to answer questions for farmers here.
And I guess the most common crop you're growing here is what's the breakdown on what we grow here?
So I want to be reflective of what's important in the wiregrass, even on this farm. And I think a lot of ways we would reflect wiregrass farms. From the row crop side, peanuts are going to be what I would consider the most important area of research we have. We concentrate every decision and everything on peanut. Cattle obviously fit in very well with our climate and our growing season. And so since cattle and peanuts complement each other so well, that's our focus. And then we want to be real careful on those rotational crops to not do the best job we can with our corn, our small grain, or our cotton. So all of our research geared toward that is in a systems approach of what's going to make the peanuts better once we plant them again in our rotation. We do quite a bit of forage work. I think that takes the bulk of the workload in the winter months. Like I mentioned earlier, with this climate we have, I think it's safe to say we can grow grass here 300 days a year. So we can really grow a little bit better grass probably in the winter than the summer. So that's a big emphasis during those months.
Chris, I'll say one thing. I've heard you make this statement at research field days before, and it's really hit home with me. Is sometimes you'll say, or you may have to correct me here, but to kind of paraphrase, we may not necessarily be able to tell you what to do, but we can tell you what not to do, and sometimes that can be just as important.
Yeah,
answering those questions.
and I thought that the definition of that early on would be if I spray this certain herbicide, it's going to kill my crop. But what I'm seeing nowadays, we have so many companies that are providing products and services that they make claims on how it can increase our yield or efficiency or make this work better. And I really enjoy what we can do here, that if we have the tried and true that works, I like to put that up against the new way. I think that even some of the work we've done with you here, you just put a few ounces of this and it can make a difference. Well, I really like the aspect of being able to tell a farmer from an unbiased way that, hey, we don't work for the companies. I think that's just dear to me, to know that I'm probably a salesman's worst nightmare with the work I do. But we like to be the person that vets that. I think that nowadays, even, the people watching this, if you're going to buy anything online, you're going to click and see the reviews. Maybe we're the ones that are giving it so many stars to know if you should do it or not.
Definite 5-star.
Yeah.
No star review.
But that was big. If I had to think of that biggest moment in my career when I realized, my worth and the work we do, a lot of times figuring out what not to do could be more important than what to do.
That's right. And like you said, with today's ag climate, especially in the row crop world, we don't need to be spending any money that we know for certain, or that we do not know for certain that would not give us a return on investment.
And kind of my attitude with that, and I know it may not per se always lend itself to certain trials that we're doing, but I think that my attitude from that standpoint would be, under certain circumstances, this product could enhance my yield and it doesn't cost very much. But maybe I'm trying to get back more to the scientific side of what does my crop require? How can I be more efficient and maybe use a reduced rate of something that I know works to have the same outcome? A lot of times I think you would agree that increasing yield doesn't always pay the bills. And so if I could make the same yield with less input, I'm happy.
Yes.
So that's kind of a focus of mine.
And I will say one thing from like Henry Jordan's variety testing, and y'all do a lot of variety testing out here, which I think is one of the more important things that y'all do. Not that there's
It's probably about 40% of my entire workload here.
But it's a very important topic. But one thing that I have noticed here recently is not only that they had the yield column, but then he's taking into account the grade as well, and converting that over to dollars per acre, revenue per acre. To me, that's
because the farmer's going to look at the 1007, because that's what derives what he's going to earn for his crop of peanuts in this example. And a high yielder that's a poor grader is not going to pay as many bills. So I think that, that importance had always been put on cotton and stuff that's easy to, you can send a sample off for that, but we collect a sample from just about every peanut plot now. And we used to do them in-house. Now we go federal and state. I want the data to match what the farmers pay.
Yeah.
So coming up this year, going into spring, is there anything that's got you excited? Anything coming down the pipe that you're looking forward to? Or is it going to be pretty much similar to what we see every year as far as the variety trials? Is there anything coming out that's new that's kind of got your interest sparked a little bit?
Well, I can sort of gauge. I have to become interested in what's going to be the majority of the work, and I think that JACID research is going to be huge. I think we're going to see almost a rebirth of cotton research here, because we're we're a couple of weeks away from planting, and we still don't have very many answers on what we can do to help mitigate that issue. So I've had a really big uptick in cotton research proposals, where we're going to probably have somewhere in the 25 trial range of JACID research. And I'm really enjoying kind of revisiting cotton research more than just varietal or maybe some herbicide work, in the fact that we're going to be able to take a lot of applied science and research that we've done in years past. Maybe can we look at how increasing fertility, or could help mitigate that. I'm excited about it, but it's going to be quite a bit of cotton for us. Along the lines of peanuts, we're still the leader in the state with fungicide research, and that's not really a feather in my hat just because we work harder. That's due to where we're at. High humidity, short rotation lends itself to we're a really good place to do disease work, and that's two of my guys spend all summer long working with that. Other than that, we have corn has kind of picked up some ground here in the last couple of years with cotton prices lower, and we're going to do a ton of corn work here. When 3 years ago, I would have had to road you around the whole farm to find 4 trials. So, I think that, the insect issues with the JACIDs are going to pick that up for us. So
Y'all got some JACID research going on right now.
we've been planting cotton for the last 4 weeks, and it is alive. So
I was out here the first day that that first planting was put in the ground, and it looks like cotton that would have been planted in February.
it looks it's pretty dead.
There's no JACIDs on it yet.
And I'm if nothing else, if we can say right now, say 4 weeks into JACID research before a planter's rolling on a farm, I think that there is this sense of relief that, if history repeats itself, and I hope it will, that this could be, in fact, be a later season issue. So, it may give us some false hope, but I think that would be a trend that we can see starting off early. So I'm hoping that stays true.
And you were right when you said earlier about we don't know a whole lot about the situation. It's very fluid still. I would agree with that, especially earlier in the season.
Yeah.
With this insect coming up out of Florida, not much cotton grown.
Yeah.
South of Gainesville, or probably even further north than that.
Yeah.
So there's just not a lot known as far as, especially the early season.
Yeah.
What is it going to be attracted to? What will deter it? Some of those things that you were talking about earlier. Not so much, hey, let's just get out there and spray, but what can we do from an agronomic standpoint? And that's really one of the reasons that this research station is so important, because trying to find answers to things like that.
Yeah. And I mean, geography really helps us, unfortunately, in some situations, but.
So just maybe explain why we have research stations all around the state. You touched on it a little bit, but how important is it in your research to know that the climate here, the geography here is relevant to the growers here?
Well, back in prior to 1929, all of the research in the state was conducted right outside of Auburn, off campus. And I think that we can agree there's a lot of things, especially animal nutrition, and maybe some types of forage work could be done, that you could send some information out from that area. But I believe once they realize that, how can we do work in the central part of the state and tell a farmer in Huntsville what they should be doing, or maybe down in southwest Alabama what to do, it became evident to them, with our administration, that, hey, we've got to give localized information. And so when we look at our center here situated at the Wiregrass Research and Extension Center, if you can imagine, in the table we're sitting at, a 90-mile radius, And that includes, not only, where we're at in terms of, how our growing season goes, but our soil type would be consistent, the growing season. And I believe that it just lends that if you're going to get some peanut information for a 90-mile radius, I want them to get it from us, not have to pull data from a long way, because I think even with what y'all have done, with your line of work, a lot of times y'all, like if someone asks you a corn question and it's never been done, you're then going to try to find where's the closest place that's been done. And so I think that really lends us to giving the best information. And I'm very thankful that they had the foresight to localize the research in our state.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, if you want to see what grows here, do the research here.
Yeah.
Well, Barry, you got anything else?
There's been a burning question that I've wanted to know myself, and maybe even from others out here in the community, but do you own a pair of long pants?
I've got 3 pair of long pants that I wear, and I do like overalls when it's like 35, because I can wear them over my shorts, and then when it warms up that afternoon, I can shed them.
And when he says warms up, he means like 40. Yeah, 40. If you're coming to a field day, you don't know Chris Parker, you look for the guy's shorts. So this January, that's going to be special.
Someone asked me one time, why do you wear shorts? And I say, well, you got to dress for adventure. You never know if somebody bumps me on the shoulder and says, you want to go fishing this afternoon.
Okay, there
You can travel a couple hours and be in a little more forgiving climate. And I don't want to say, no, I can't, because I've got to run home and change clothes. So I want to just kind of be ready.
Always prepared.
Yeah.
Very good.
I'm going to start dressing for adventure. That's of all the research talk we had today. That's the biggest take I've gotten for this conversation.
I mean, the last thing you want to do is hold up fun if someone calls and makes you that offer. And maybe I need to put y'all on the spot one day, when you've got your khakis and your loafers on, where you've been to a high-powered extension meeting. And then, you'd have to say, well, I've got to go change before I go as you.
Yeah, we could do largemouth research, largemouth bass research. There you go. We don't want to hold up research.
Exactly.
We don't want to hold up progress. So, Chris, we appreciate your time. We know you're busy. Chris is wide open here about daily, and we appreciate all the work you do, all the work all the guys at the station do. If you come here, you got a crew here, and they're never still, it seems like. They're always all out and about getting things done. So we appreciate everyone that works here, a lot of what research gets done here, and the information, and the partners from campus and the specialists and the extension agents that come here. And this is where a lot of that information starts, right here. So, Chris, we appreciate you. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, no, I just really like the story that we never get to tell is the people. I've got a really large staff, and I mean, we're just like family here, good times and bad. And there's just a different working relationship when everybody has the same goal. I've watched a lot of my guys, they really take to heart and understand the work we're doing. They feel, that, hey, if I make a mistake, like we talked about earlier, the first person I need to admit to that is one of my guys, because think how that could wreck some really good research. But I think that, they have really bought into what we do and who we serve. And I think that I would be amiss too to not mention, think about the impact it has on this community. A lot of times I've been disheartened when I see one of my area or local farmers and say, why don't you come by the research center to the field day? He said, well, I don't have to. You're there every day. And what I look at is when you start thinking about the generational farms that we have in this area, is it easy to think that maybe right here in Henry and Houston County, those farmers have had an edge because this place has been here since 1929. They have not had to look very far to find the information. Before we had this and every way to stream and throw this information out, they knew all they had to do was pull it up in the parking lot and ask a question. And I don't ever want to discount the importance that I think this place has played to make the farmers in this area, give them an edge versus a section of the state or the country that didn't have a research center up the street. So I'm thankful we've had that presence for almost 100 years.
And I think that tradition in agriculture where it can be a field day or a one-on-one conversation with a guy just stopping by It's good to have those resources here. Good to have people like Chris and his people here. And I think that's what makes the Wiregrass a little bit different. And that's not to any other location, but it's just the area we know, and with the reputation that this research station has in the Wiregrass, and we're very thankful and grateful that it's here. And so appreciate your time. We'll wrap it up. I'm gonna run to the house, throw some shorts on, and just in case someone needs some,
These pond check,
crabby research,
or you ever in a lake or
like
something like that.
we'll call Levi. Levi will be up for it. Yeah, our new aquatics guy. He's all about it. But appreciate it. Thank you for dropping by. We'll be posting another podcast here soon. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, email, or reach out to the Extension office or the Wiregrass Research and Extension Center, or check out wiregrassgrown.com.